Well, hello everyone, and happy Monday. I hope you have an amazing day. Yeah, I'm just getting thrown off here because it's like, what is going on? Okay. Well, I guess Instagram is still not working. Okay. I was trying to go live everywhere at the same time. I guess I'm just not doing this now. So let me just talk a little bit about opera singing. Okay. So classical singing. And I have a couple of really cool announcements. But first of all, I wanted to talk about the kind of two most common problems when you sing classically and you just have the feeling like, doesn't quite sound right yet. When I listen to other singers, it's like so amazing. And here's what makes it amazing. Really, there are three things. Number one, vertical space, tallness, vowel placement, which then results in resonance, squillo, twang, whatever you want to call it, in those bright overtones. And it doesn't matter what voice type you are. The bright overtones are so important. Whether you're a bass, a tenor, a soprano, an alto, we need overtones. And the overtones will always be brighter and higher than the main tone that you will hear, the main frequency. And the more you mix in, the more resonant and rich it will sound. Why do we want that? Because we don't want just one-dimensional singing. We want this silvery, ringy sound. And how do we get this? Now, of course, you don't want the sound waves to stop right here. You want them to go as much as they can everywhere that you have available to you in your body where they possibly could go and resonate and be amplified. So one place is really the open space inside of your mouth cavity. So whenever you have a chance, so when there's an ah or an ah, you can actually create a lot of open space. And how much it is open really matters a lot to the sound. So, it's not very open. So it has a lot of nasal quality. And that was quite on the low end of my voice, but you could see as I open, it sounds quite different. Now that becomes so much more important as you go higher even. So when I go here, this is when the problem starts when you get higher and you don't have enough vertical space, especially in that pharyngeal area, lifting the soft palate, which when you lift the soft palate, it's almost like automatically the tongue goes down also. I can't do it any other way to where I could lift the soft palate and the tongue is just flat and relaxed. It doesn't work. So it's almost like, I don't know, what muscles always move together. But you want to make sure you always try to lift that soft palate and that pharyngeal space is large. So it's that onset of a yawn. It's like, oh, okay, oh. See how then you can see, oh. And actually someone commented that they had the uvula removed because it was in the way in singing. And then it didn't help and it didn't make anything better. So the uvula isn't doing anything. The uvula is attached to the soft palate. So when you lift the soft palate up, the uvula is not going to be in the way of anything. So now everything's closed. See how the uvula is just hanging in there and it's not in the way. Excuse me, I haven't really warmed up today. Keeping that tall space as you go higher will prevent you from choking yourself off literally. Here's what happens when you don't open up, and that's not your jaw. It's not the jaw alone. There's a baseline opening. If you're too small, you can't really go anywhere on the inside either. Everything's going to be in the way. But beyond that baseline, It's really on the inside. It's the soft parts. And that's why it's called soft palate. Like, so when you go small and you go, it becomes very excruciating. It sounds like a screech. What differentiates a horrible sounding screech from a beautiful resonant tone is the vertical space and the vibrato. Okay? The vibrato is really the second thing. Now with open space and vibrato. See how that just sounds different? And it doesn't hurt and it doesn't feel like I'm choking or anything because I'm giving it that space. And of course, adding a vibrato will keep that strain because you have an oscillation. There's that slight variation. There's a movement. You never want static. Static is your enemy. Your body doesn't like anything static. You want to be dynamic. You want to be in motion. Music is always in motion. Even when you never sit on a tone. You don't sit on a pitch. Even a pitch that lasts, it's always going forward in time and motion. It never is static and still. You always have to approach it that way, that you're always having a forward movement. There's always somewhere. The music is going somewhere because time continues. Unless you freeze time, then it would be truly static, but time isn't static. So as time moves, you always have to think from a perspective of motion. Sometimes that motion speeds up. Sometimes you kind of slow it down, depending on how the music flows. It's like a roller coaster. You know, that's how I feel sometimes music works. So that is a major thing. You have to work on your placement on every single vowel or even the consonants. You have to pay attention to, is there enough openness? Am I placing the sound waves where they can resonate the most and the best and create tall space? You don't want to cover with your lips. When you're singing an open it shouldn't be I could be open on the inside, but I'm covering. So basically, I'm pulling back again. So on an open it should see a little bit of teeth. It's not the least thing you could do is relax your lips. And I feel that working with my lips a bit to kind of direct the sound waves really does help a lot. I was at a workshop at a masterclass with Ileana Kotrubash. Who still knows Ileana Kotrubash? She was my Susanna that I always watched when I studied that role. That was the main thing back then. When I worked with her in that masterclass, it was my thing. I kind of had the lip thing going on. I think even my lower lip was a little tense. So little details like that actually do make quite a bit of a difference on your sound. So and I have a couple of announcements because I have been thinking about, okay, so I'm putting out all this opera content now, and I'm running opera workshops, which I'm going to tell you about the workshop that I'm starting tomorrow in just a minute. And I'm thinking, I know that there are a lot of people who are interested, but I also know that there are quite a few people that are really only interested in pop singing. So I was thinking, so what am I doing? And I've decided to actually create a YouTube channel that is dedicated to just classical and operatic singing. So whether it's oratorio or anything classical, from opera to art song and everything in between, I have dedicated a new YouTube channel to that. So it's when you go to YouTube, you can find it. You just go youtube.com/@Freya Casey Opera in one word. And that is the YouTube channel. And I actually uploaded one video where I did a warm up, which isn't anywhere else. I just recorded it quickly and it's not going to be edited. I'm literally just taking my phone, hitting record and recording these type of videos. It's very real and raw and unedited. It's just what comes out, okay? But I do want to share much more when it comes to classical singing, and that's a place where it lives. Now, I don't have an upload schedule there that I can say every week on Wednesday I'm uploading a video. I'm uploading a new video when I have time to get to it and whenever I feel inspired, whenever I want to share, or when a question comes up, that's when I will put a video there. But if you subscribe to that channel, you will always get all the content related to classical singing, opera, art song, oratorio, sacred music, all the things that are classical type singing. Even if you do Indian classical type singing, a lot of it applies. And even if you don't really ultimately want to sing classically, I think a lot of that technique really does help, even if you don't sing classically. And I know it's always this argument, if you want to sing pop, should you even try classical singing? I argue yes. There are a lot of very famous singers who have had classical training in the past, and I feel like you can hear it because their technique is much healthier. Maybe they don't sound so different, but they're singing in a more healthy way. And when you start singing a lot, it does make a big difference. I hear a lot of singers that have amazing voices, but after 10 years or 20 years, it's very bad. You can hear the vocal cords are strained. They're not closing impeccably anymore. There is this slight gap already, that strain that you can hear, that slight amount of breathiness that will not ever go away again. It's just there. There's not this crystal clear 100% closure sound anymore, which we could argue maybe it's not necessary in all pop singing, but it's just an indicator of strain in the voice and over singing. Okay. So, is it Zilenius? Thank you so much. You say I struggle a lot with placement no matter what I do. My head voice is so airy and is a challenge changing registers. I am only a beginner though. Okay, that is not, it is connected to placement. That tall space is definitely important, but also your vocal cord closure and your support mechanism. See, when you're pushing out a lot of air and your vocal cords aren't efficiently closed, what I just was talking about actually, you will hear that amount of breathiness. So when I go, see, I am open and all, but my vocal cords don't close tightly and I'm pushing out too much air. So your support, that subglottal compression and working with that to where it's always the right amount of air and the right amount of pressure and not pushing against your vocal cords too much, but also having just enough air. It's something you have to really figure out. Another announcement I have, of course, especially now if you're a beginner, if you want to learn more about classical singing, opera singing, art song singing, anything classical, I have a workshop that I'm starting tomorrow. It's a 3-day workshop where I go through all the basics of classical and operatic singing. We have a private Facebook group that is dedicated where you can post a video of yourself singing so I can have an idea what's going on. You don't have to. You can just watch everyone else if you want to, but it's a great opportunity. For 3 days, I'm going to go live every day, and after the live, there is a live Q&A, and I would love to have you in there. It's not free because I really want people in there who are actually going to show up. It's $29. $29 for 3 days of an opera workshop. I feel like that is it's almost free, right? It's almost free. $29. How much does it cost to go to an opera masterclass? Usually more, okay? So because I want people who are actually going to show up, I am charging for it. I've done a lot of free stuff on my YouTube channel. It's all free. It's all free, tons of free content. I have a podcast, but I would love for you to join if you are interested in diving deeper I'm going to do what I showed you today and so much more. I'm going to show you more examples. There's going to be more singing where I demonstrate. I'm going to use some pieces of music as an example. I might recommend a few pieces that are good for beginners to start out and walk you through it just a bit to give you some examples of how to apply what we are learning. And you can find the Opera workshop. You could just go to my website, masteryourvoice.tv, and it'll pop up at some point. Or you can go directly to the page, masteryourvoice.tv/opera-workshop. So opera-workshop. masteryourvoice.tv/opera-workshop. Starting tomorrow. And all the times when I go live are listed in Central European time, but there is a website. It's called timeanddate.com where you can figure out what that is in your time zone. However, even if you cannot be there live, it's not a big deal because all the replays you can watch later. I'm streaming into the Facebook group directly, and you can watch whenever you have time. The Facebook group will remain open for a week after we stop, so that you can still always go and watch and interact with everyone. There are going to be action items, and I just want you to be active in there and get to know you better. All right, everyone. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to jump off here now, and I hope that the registrations are going to keep rolling in because it's going to be a lot of fun when there are more people in there. So take your classical voice to the next level, and that is very generic. I know. Take it. It's so ChatGPT. ChatGPT is like you when you tell it to do anything, it's going to give you extremely generic answers. Yeah, we work with it sometimes, but I feel like the best messages are always when I write them, because AI is awesome, but it's not, even when you give it good instructions, it's really actually quite dumb sometimes still. It's amazing what it can do, but nothing like an actual human being. Not in my space, not in music. It just doesn't work. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I do hope to see you. Show up. I wanted to show up. There's no excuse for you. If you want to get better, you're going to have to look into ways to do that. And you can watch a lot of tutorials, but having that personal touch point does make a big difference. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.